Migrants from sub-Saharan Africa arrive in Libya every day, in their hundreds after being abandoned by the border in the middle of the desert by Tunisian security forces, according to their accounts and those of Libyan border guards. Around 100 African migrants were rescued on Sunday by Libyan guards as they wandered through an uninhabited arid area near Sabkat Makta, a salt lake along the Tunisian-Libyan border. From Sudan, I traveled to Niger, then from Niger to Algeria, then from Algeria to Tunisia. I worked in a center there. I worked on daily basis and monthly basis, and while I was working, they caught me and they sent me here to the borders.
The pieces, the foam pieces, then break it or then then send me exile inside Sahara Desert. I now working inside desert for a long for up to 2 days and without no food, no water.
Human Rights Watch said up to 1,200 black Africans were expelled or forcibly transferred by Tunisian security forces in July to the country's desert border regions with Libya and Algeria. The current situation on the Libyan-Tunisian border is disastrous. Every day, large numbers of migrants are pouring in and their numbers are increasing more and more, especially with temperature rising to as much as 49 degrees Celsius. The North African country is a major gateway for migrant and asylum seekers attempting perilous sea voyages in hopes of a better life in Europe.
And Vogu Nayosi, Black Revolutionary now. Just want to speak on my beautiful African black people, specifically in Africa, because I talk to a lot of African people. I mean, I have a lot of African friends, and I mean, been there, so I have this relationship, of course, with the motherland. And so many times and so many stories, that we have seen or we heard, that African people from the continent want to leave Africa, right? They want to leave Africa for a better life, and I keep telling them, why would you want to leave Africa for a better life? Because when you look at the Chinese, right, and you look at the Indians, right, and you see the Arabs in North Africa who are still coming into North Africa, and even seen white people in Africa, they are coming to Africa, while African people want to flee Africa. And I understand why. Because when you look at African countries that was deliberately had neo-colonialism sanctions on their countries to give up most of their resources. In some cases, you had countries even in the Sahel area where they were giving up 80% of their natural resources and they were keeping 20, while European are enjoying the benefit of the richness of Africa, and African people with the resources in their ground can have any lights on, don't have any running water, don't have any good roads, and the only good roads, listen to this, family, the only good roads you see in Africa is the roads that lead from the airport to the mining factories. or mining grounds in and out. So when you hear the stories about these good white people going into Africa and to build roads and all these things, you have to remember why they're doing it. We know the history of this white man. White man ain't doing nothing to benefit black people. They're only doing things to look like they're benefiting black people, but they're benefiting themselves. So why would African black people want to flee Africa to go to Europe or come to Canada or go to the United States? Is because they're puppet leaders who suck all the resources and all the money out of the country. It keeps the country destabilized. It keeps the country poor. So I understand why my brothers and sisters want to leave Africa. And that's why, and I can't stop talking about this, when you look at the 3 countries in the Sahel area, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, that's the reason why they kicked out the French, to control their resources and to control the economy and their money back. When Captain Ibrahim Traore went to the Russia-Africa summit, he said, right, and I'm paraphrasing, why we are so mineral rich and have all these resources and we are poor. Something is wrong here. Yes, something is wrong. Look at the Congo. Look at the Congo. And I have a video coming up soon on the Congo. The Congo is one of the richest countries on the planet. Yes, I'm going to say it again. The Congo is one of the richest countries on the planet. If it wasn't for the Congo, you wouldn't have no cell phones, no laptop, no computers, no GPS in your cars, none of that. Because all the minerals, or I think it's like 80%, 75 to 80% come from the Congo. That's the reason why the Congo is in constant chaos, because they want to keep that place destabilized. Millions of people homeless. Millions of people keep flooding their homes and their villages because you have this wicked white supremacy hand who is paying insurgent groups to go in there and to destabilize and to keep the wealth of the Congo in European hands. Yes. So we understand why a lot of our brothers and sisters want to flee Africa. Once we stand, just like those 3 countries in the Sahel, once we stand, we don't need to go nowhere. We have everything in Africa to sustain itself. Everything. Once the revolutionary leaders, not the puppet leaders, the revolutionary leaders bring stability and take control of their countries in Africa, brothers and sisters don't need to leave the continent to go to Europe, to face all this racism and bigotry from the same people who have exploited your country. Dig that. So the same people who came to your country and make it poor for you to fled, you try to go to get a better life or try to get a better job, and they calling you nigger, they calling you all kind of words, all kind of names. They're doing all kind of things to you, profiling you on every level. That's why I praise those leaders in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, because they're taking back their country so their people don't have to go and leave the country for anything. They don't have to go beg white people for nothing. Check that out. You have leaders who have the interests of your nation and keep the resources so you benefit from it. You don't need to go to any white country, to beg them for a job. Just imagine in Niger, and I said this in a previous video, they have uranium from Niger for $2, or I think it was less than that too. I think it's like 80 cents or whatever. Yeah, I might be right. And they sell it. They take it, the raw material, and take it into Europe and sell it to other European countries for €200. You talk about robbery. So yes, I understand why a lot of brothers and sisters is fleeing their countries is because of exploitation from the West. I get it. But at some point, you gotta stand up and fight. At some point, and yeah, you gotta fight those black puppet leaders first and fight the white supremacy invisible hand, that control your country. At some point, you gotta fight. You can't run. All right? We can't run and feel we're gonna solve our problems just by running. At some point, you gotta stand up. And having those brothers in those 3 countries right now have to invoke some kind of revolutionary spirit in you to say, yo, I got to do something. Not just for me, but for the generation that is coming after me. So yes, don't run, my beautiful African black people. We have to stand up and unify and fight this uncivilized white European. Peace and black power. Black revolutionary now.